Welcome to Before the Work Begins with me, Jo Hutton, senior yoga teacher and author of best-selling Substack Yoga for Tired People. And in this podcast, we speak to the movers, the shakers and the creatives and find out what they are doing before the work begins. Are they really getting up at 5 a.m. and taking cold plunges, or are they just trying to get by like the rest of us? I hope you enjoy. Welcome to Before the Work Begins, and I am joined by Jen Morilla today. And for the people at home who might not know your work, can you give us a little rundown of who you are and what you do?
Well, Jo, first of all, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. So I work in the online space. I have an online education company. I work with coaches, course creators, service providers, and I help them monetize into high-ticket group programs and masterminds and turn those programs evergreen and, just build a brand online.
So for me and for you and for people who are used to working in online spaces, I 100% understand what you're saying. But for some of my listeners, they might not be in the online space and they might have just heard what you said and gone, pardon? Is there a way that you can make that into layman's terms so for people who aren't in the online space would know what you do?
Yes. So I basically help people monetize their personal brands.
And what would your day-to-day work and practice look like?
I strive to work only 4 days a week. So far, that's the goal that I had for this year was scale to where I want to scale to in my business at a 4-day work week. It's a nice lean team. I'm an education company and I manage quite a few clients. I'm based in Miami. I'm from New York. If I'm not in my office at home, I'm in my studio in Miami.
So it's absolutely lovely to hear you saying about working 4 days a week. Has it always been that way? Or
Oh God, no. Oh God, no. I say that and I'm cautious to say it because it is hard. And especially if you love what you do. And I don't know, I feel like, Jo, you're probably the same way. I genuinely love what I do. And for me to turn off my brain and be like, oh, I don't want to work on a Friday is actually it's a mental process that I've had to put myself through. The bigger the business has gotten, the more I've been able to just kind of taken a step back and do the roles that I need to do and really focus my energy and time on the things that really move the needle. I also find that the team is also productive because they know it's a 4-day work week. My clients know it's a 4-day work week. And so we work really hard Monday through Thursday. And so when Friday rolls around, if I'm doing anything Friday, if I really have to do something, it's happening very early in the morning and I'm getting it done and then I'm done with the day. I go to the beach, I go fishing. I'm in the process of redecorating my apartment. Yeah, just doing things that I enjoy. When I started this, I've been doing this for 11 years now in the online space and I've been through it. I've hustled. I've hustled till 3 a.m. I've edited the YouTube videos, the podcast, done it all. And so just being at a place where I have a little bit more flexibility and freedom and able to buy back my time has just been really lovely.
And do you find that what you mentioned there about switching gears and really loving what you do, do you find that you have that down now that you can be like, right, I'm off, I'm decorating my apartment, I'm going fishing, or do you, while you're fishing, do you still think,
No, I don't know. I think that's never going to change. I think it's my ADHD that's oh, I have to do this and I have to do this. Then I'll remember something and I'll text my manager. I do my morning routine practices. I really don't pick up my phone in the mornings. I really try the moment I wake up, do not pick up my phone. I try to put my phone in another room to do all those things. But I think there's a season for everything, there's times where I have to work on a Friday. Like I said, January into February, I kind of had to work on a Friday. Now that I've done the work, the big bulk, I can step back just a little bit,
I think sometimes as well, if you're in that creative flow, it can almost be draining to try and stop that. If you're getting a download or you're getting lots of creativity all at once, sometimes it can be almost more draining to stop it.
Yes, absolutely. I think it's especially as creatives, right? Somebody once said to me years ago, and I didn't really understand it when I heard it. And now that I've been doing this for as long as I have, they said, when you're building a personal brand, what you're building is a media company. And I was like, what do they mean? And now that I'm in it, I'm like, oh yeah, well aware it's a media company. And so I'm constantly coming, and I love it. It's the best part of what I do. It's how I started my career. I started on YouTube. So videos for me, being able to talk to camera, be on stages, do interviews is just, it's part of my lifeline. Like, and so it's like it's so much more work to turn that off than it is to just go with the flow. And I have what I call at least once a month, I call a rot day. The most I will do is walk the dog, because I have a dog. I'll walk her for like a nice long walk. So I just feel like I move my body just a little bit. But I won't go to the gym. I'll make like big breakfast, like pancakes, eggs, the whole nine. And I'll just sit and binge TV. And
It's good for the soul.
it's so lovely.
So what was your day? What would your morning look like now then?
My internal clock wakes up around like 6:30, 7 o'clock. I'll usually get up. I used to do the whole 7 o'clock, meditate, get to the gym, start my day that way. And then a couple of months ago, I started working with a hypnotherapist and a performance coach. And they said to me, actually, why don't we try something different? Because of ADHD, they were like, why don't you try like waking up and leaving your phone where it is, like having your cup of tea or cup of coffee right away, and then going straight to work. Actually, no, they didn't say coffee because they were like, that's not good for you. They were like, have your lemon water and get straight to work. And so I started waking up at 6. And I started trying that on, and it actually, like, between 6 and 9 o'clock or 8:30, I was insanely productive. The amount of work that I was getting done, and I was like, I felt like a superhuman. Like I had struck gold. And I'm like, I'm not going to tell nobody. I was like, look at me, I'm getting all of this work done. So by the time 8:30 rolled around, I was like, I was at the gym, and I was like actually at the gym intentionally, and I was working out, and I was able to even meditate right after that and like not have to worry about the 1,000 emails that I need to get back to and the schedule I need to change and et cetera, et cetera. So that really started to be life-changing. The last couple of days, I would say, and again, I think it's the season. It's what feels good to me. Like, I don't think one shoe fits all. I think you have to decide what feels good to you and what works for you. When I'm on my cycle, I will sleep in a little bit more, and then I'll wake up and I'll do the meditation and I'll do the journaling, and then I'll get started with my day.
It's really interesting that you're saying that, because I've had this conversation with quite a few women with ADHD have been on the podcast, because obviously it's a self-selecting group, isn't it? Entrepreneurs and creative people often have ADHD because it's how they've been able to make a living for themselves. What is coming up again and again is this having great creativity in the morning and then needing a break and then having creativity again. And I think that can be quite difficult, because it goes against everything we have been told about mornings. Like, we've been told you have to do your meditation, you have to do your yoga, you have to, like, the morning is sacred, and then you're not allowed to. And it's almost like, for me, I feel like I'm very creative first thing in the morning, and then about 10 a.m, that's when I want to go to the gym, and then I'm ready again in the afternoon. And I feel like you almost have to unlearn all of the entrepreneur stuff that has been told to us.
I mean, they're technically not wrong, right? So like, I have my yoga certification. And when I practiced yoga, that's when I was into meditation before that, but when I got my yoga certification, I really learned more about meditation and what happens to the body and the mind. And I've done a lot of that behind the scenes work. I've read a lot of Joe Dispenza. The meditation has been the number one in my book, like the magic pill. As someone who struggled with depression, anxiety, panic attacks, meditation has regulated my nervous system beyond the wildest. I've struggled with insomnia, and being able to meditate and like put myself into a sleep state has been great. But the truth is that your brain, when you wake up, is very vulnerable. That's why picking up the phone is so dangerous, because whatever is going on and whatever you're getting. So like 2 days ago, I did something I shouldn't have. I fell asleep on the couch, and I left the phone in the living room. And the first thing I did when I woke up is I grabbed my phone, and I saw a message from a client. And like, to be fair, she was just asking a question. It wasn't a big deal. But because I grabbed the phone, it was the first thing I saw in the morning. I'm sure you can relate. I went mental, and I like spiraled for like a solid hour. And that just totally ruined my morning. Like, to get myself back to a state of like, everything's fine, everything's calm, took a solid 3 hours. That 2 minutes that I saw that message just like threw me off a cliff. And I was like, oh, Jesus Christ, we thought we already surpassed this. Like, what is going on? And so the reason that happens is your brain is just so receptive and vulnerable as soon as you wake up. So it is very powerful for you to meditate. I do a lot of visualization in the morning where I'll imagine the state of where I want to be, the person I want to become, and like just feeling into those emotions. It's a lot quicker and a lot faster to do that and more effective in the morning, because you're not being disrupted from the noise of the outside world. But if you also did it in the middle of the day or you did it walking, it's just as powerful. You just have to find what works for you, you know? And I think you, like you said, you have to unlearn what we're taught, because we're told like, it has to be like this, you know, 4 a.m. cold mornings and cold plunges and this and that. It's like, what? Like I am not doing a cold plunge at 6 a.m. Like that's just, no, ma'am.
So what was your background before you got into the online space?
So I have a master's in social entrepreneurship and business development, and then I have a bachelor's in marketing. So I worked in New York City at a marketing agency. My master's basically qualifies me to turn a nonprofit into a profitable business, social enterprise. And that was like my passion. I loved it. When I got to New York, I worked a few startups, but nothing that was enough to like sustain my living expenses in New York City. And I had come previously from the marketing world. And so I had a lot of connections in the marketing world.
And what were your mornings like when you were working for somebody else? And so when you were in the agency, how did your mornings look?
I was in my like early 20s. So was definitely not who I am today. Bless her heart. When I worked for the agency, I was very client facing. So I had a lot of late dinners and going out and stuff like that. So there were times that I was getting home at like 11, 12 o'clock at night and then having to wake up to get to work at like 9, 8 o'clock. I think we had to be at work at 8. I don't think it was even 9. And so by the time I got up, got dressed, got ready, all the things, it was just a rush. If I made it to the gym, it was in the afternoon. I did try to do some classes early in the morning. So I would do like that 5 a.m., 6 a.m. class, CrossFit class at one point. I envy the people that can do that at 5 a.m. I genuinely am like, wow, hats off to you, man. Like,
what was the catalyst for you going, right, okay, I'm going to go off on my own and I'm going to make my own thing?
I had gone through something very traumatic at an early age. So 5 years before I was in corporate and quit this job and all the things, I had a younger brother and he passed away. And we were Irish twins. We were a year and a half apart and we were very close. And so my early 20s, have you ever read the book, The Defining Decade, Joe? Mm. So it's a book about your 20s and how your brain develops, the difference between men and women during that age group. And for women, the early 20s defines their personality. We develop our brain, our frontal cortex develops faster than men. Surprise, surprise. Like we develop our frontal cortex faster than men. And so our personalities are molded in our early 20s. So when I had something very traumatic happen to me in my early 20s, before reading that book, I used to say I felt like I grew up fast, and I actually did, because things really started to happen. My parents got sick. My sister I have an older sister, she's 4 years older than me, but she was engaged, getting ready to marry what is now her husband, and all the things. And so I was very much alone and really learning to deal with grief. And if you've ever lost, anybody listening has ever lost anybody, or it doesn't matter who it is, grief comes in waves. And when it is an unexplained grief or unexplained tragedy, it's almost even harder. And so I struggled a lot with depression, anxiety, insomnia, a lot of that in my early 20s. I got to a point in my career where I really was reflecting on who I was becoming. And the woman that I was seeing in the mirror wasn't the woman that I was actually proud of. And I had, I think we have several rock bottoms. I don't think there's just like one rock bottom, but I had a lot of rock bottoms. And I had my one come to Jesus moment where I saw this woman in the mirror and I was like, something's wrong here. I really don't like what I'm seeing. And so I started to make little changes. I really started to stop going out as much. I stopped drinking. I started paying attention to what I was eating. Started taking on healthier habits. I started to like lose certain friend groups, natural evolution, right? And then I got to a place in my career, I'm like, okay, they said that if I got a college degree, I got a master's, I was in a relationship, that all of these things would make me happy because they were checking the boxes of life. Great career, and like, by all means, the front cover of the book was beautiful. when you open that book, it was quite sad. And I was like, this isn't, what am I doing? Like, this can't be it. Like, this just isn't for me. I know I'm meant for more. Quitting my corporate job was one of the hardest things because we're taught to work for other people. Like the school system, every school system teaches you how to follow, not lead. Very, very few teach you how to lead. And when you choose to make that choice, you become in complete control of your life, especially when it comes to your survival. I started as a travel blogger, carrying clean water filters to developing countries. And so I was like, worst comes to worst, if I just spend a year, traveling, great. I made a lot of good friends around the world. But the goal was to build a much, much bigger business. Yeah. I left to travel the world. I spent the entire year traveling. I finished in Australia at the end of 2015. And then I decided to stay on a working and holiday visa for a year. Then traveled to India, through Australia. Was invited at the end of 2016 into 2017, was invited to move to Costa Rica for a travel company and travel within Central and South America. So I did that at the end of 2016 and moved to Costa Rica. And I was in Costa Rica for about 9 months, 8 months, 9 months, something like that. And then that puts us into 2017. And then I spent the 2017, I was back in New York, but I was traveling every other month. I was working with tourism boards, brands. I mean, I didn't think what I was going to do worked, to be honest with you. I was like, who's going to believe me? I was a blogger. That's how I started. I was like early influencer. 3.5 years later, we'd built a brand, reputation. I was doing some consulting work. I was getting on stages, talking about influencer marketing, how to build a purpose-driven business, et cetera, et cetera. And then at the end of 2018, my audience was like, how do you monetize your personal brand? Like they wanted to learn how to tell a story and monetize it in a way that was effective. And I built my very first online course, and it was a $500 course. And sure enough, I had an $11,000 launch within 2 weeks. And I was like, oh my goodness, I'm rich. And my audience was asking for it. And then I just like slowly did the pivot. And that was at the end of 2018 into 2019. And so all of 2019, I started to really just stop traveling and I was in New York. So just started really focusing on building the brand, programs, courses, etc. Did a lot in 2019 that by the time we got to 2020, which we all know what happened, everyone was like, you're an expert at building online businesses. And that was it. It was to the moon from there.
Does it feel very different to not be in that nomadic lifestyle anymore? Do you still feel like you have the freedom, or does it feel like you've had your wings clipped a little bit?
No, I definitely still have the freedom. As long as there's Wi-Fi, it doesn't matter. After I lived in New York, and then in 2021, I went down to Mexico. I was in Mexico for a couple of months. What I like to do is when I was traveling as a travel blogger, I was moving so much. Like I was to a point that it was not healthy for me, to be honest. The worst time was, and I know people are going to listen to this and be like, what? I was like, the worst time was I went from Greece to China to Vancouver.
Ooh.
And I landed in Vancouver. I had a 3-night stay at a hotel in Vancouver. And then because I was working with the tourism board, and then I was going to California. And I remember that week like it was yesterday. First of all, the amount of work that I had between video editing, photography, and I had one person helping me. And then just the constant time difference in travel. Like think about the time difference there. You're going from Greece to China to Vancouver. I remember waking up in Vancouver in the middle of the night, and for not even a second, it was like a whole minute. I woke up and I stood up and I was like, where am I? Like I had no idea where I was. That I started crying, and then I realized, okay, you're fine. You're in Vancouver. Everything's fine. Where's your passport? Like, you're okay. Everything's great. Like, I had a panic attack, and I was like, uh-oh, this is not okay. And like, if I'm being honest, my schedule was just like that for 3 years. It was nonstop. There were like little breaks here and there, but 2017 was a lot. And so I realized, and it was affecting my physical health. I started getting rashes, and it was just my body telling me to slow down. And so to me, now I like to travel, and I very much like to stay in places. Like if I'm going to go somewhere, I'm going to stay there for minimum a month. I now have a dog. So yes, it is a little different. But I don't feel like my wings were clipped at all.
Yeah, I feel like that sometimes when you see people being like, I can work abroad. And I'm like, I can go on holiday.
Yes,
I can leave my laptop and go on holiday. Like it doesn't feel the flex that it can look of being like, I can take my laptop and work, and you're like, but the real flex is being able to shut your laptop and
yeah.
have an actual holiday.
Yes, 100%. I also think it's the season, right? Like when I was in my 20s, I could do that. I also had the energy to do that. Like I was like backpacking through Thailand, no big deal. Like eating oatmeal because I was so freaking broke. But I could do that. I was in my 20s. I had the energy. Like I'm 37. No. I was like, I want to stay at a 5-star hotel. I want to go to a spa. I want to eat delicious meals. I don't want to look at my phone. I want to put it in the safe. And like forget the code for a day, you know? You're right. That's the real luxury. And I do get to do that now, which is nice. And I get to choose when I get to do that.
What would your ideal morning be if you didn't have to work, if you just had a day off? What would your ideal morning look like?
And I could be anywhere in the world.
You can be wherever you want. You can do whatever you want. Like, you've got unlimited resources.
This is fun. Okay, what would I do if I could be anywhere in the world and I could have a morning routine and do whatever I want? Okay, so I would be probably either in Australia or the Maldives, one or the other.
You got somewhere when you're saying that, are you picturing a particular place, or is it like just the idea of Australia or the Maldives?
So I would either be in Byron. I could be in Sydney. I could be in Sydney. What'd you say?
If you had to.
Yeah, if I had to, for me. It's like somebody's listening to this. I don't know if you have an Aussie audience, but I'm sure they'll be laughing. I would go for a morning surf, and I'd go for a cup of coffee, and some breakfast, and maybe a yoga class after, and then maybe take a nap.
Nice.
Take like a proper nap. Because you wake up that early, you're trying to get like a sunset, and you'll be tired. At least I will be. Maybe go buy some flowers and decorate my apartment with flowers, or where I'm staying with flowers. Love the smell of flowers. Meet up with some friends for a late lunch.
So I'm in the north of England, and we have like really good surf beaches, but it's so cold.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no one. Is it warm in Miami? Is the sea warm?
Yes, but there's no waves. Like, there's literally no waves. Like I said, if only there's a storm. When there's a storm, you have the kite surfers and you have the surfers out there. And then sometimes you do have to be careful because the waves are just way too big. And that I just wouldn't qualify. Just get stuck and watch it. But yes, I have been to Newcastle. I've seen those. You guys get really big waves.
Yeah, we do. What were you doing in Newcastle? Why? I always, whenever anyone mentions they've been to Newcastle, I'm like, why? Even though Newcastle is like beautiful, it's such nothing. But like, I feel like we're just a place that only we know about. So when other people, I'm like, how did you even hear about us?
Yeah, I was with friends. We were passing through.
You saw us on the train.
Yeah, so I was like, bye. No, yeah. So I was there. I think I was there for a day. It was easy. You know what I was there for? Oh God. The 4th of November.
Guy Fawkes night.
There we go, Guy Fawkes. Yes, I was looking for it. I was like, "What's the name of it?" Yes.
To be fair, it is like completely bizarre that tradition. So you must have been like, "What is this?"
He tried to burn down Parliament, or tried to bomb Parliament, and then what was it that they took? Well, you please.
He was hung, drawn, and quartered. It's kind of dark, isn't it? And now we eat toffee apples and have fireworks and
in the name of him.
It's not until you have like friends that are coming around as tourists and you're like, this is our monument to the guy who tried to blow up Parliament. We're like, this is Lady Grey's who was like tortured to death. And you're like, this is really odd, but we just don't see it.
Yeah. Nope. You guys are dark and twisted. I love it. But it's when I was in Edinburgh as well. I love Edinburgh. Oh my goodness. Edinburgh is one of my favorite cities. Have you ever been?
Oh yeah, loads. It's only it's like an hour and a half on the train. So it's like there all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's so dark. And I mean, the ghost stories and the history. Oh my God, the tunnels. I did the whole I was like, oh, and there's like it's one of the most haunted cities in the UK or in all of the UK. And they have, there's certain cemeteries that you can't enter because they're literally, it says that there's poltergeists, like they're banded, like you cannot enter. And you're like, what? Like, I'm like scared to walk by. And then there's like this part of me that's like, but like, what kind of demons? Like, what do we, like, is it real? Like, hoo-hoo. But then I'm like, Jennifer, stop it. Like, the last thing you need is a possessed child following you around.
I think that might be to do with the asbestos. It's probably just to stop people from like going into places that they're not supposed. They're like, oh, it's a poltergeist.
Maybe. I mean, I'm not going to try to find out, to be honest with you. If they said it, it is what it is. But such a beautiful city, so much culture. One of the creepiest. I loved it. I had such a good. I was there for Hogmanay, New Year's.
Oh wow, yeah. If there's a place in the world that does, other than possibly Sydney, the Hogmanay in Edinburgh is incredible.
Yes, I was invited by the tourism board in 2018, and I did and I did New Year's there, and it was so fun, and it was so cold, but I was there for a whole week, and I got to see most of Edinburgh, and it was just stunning, stunning, stunning. So much history.
Did you go on that rickety
I did. I went all the way to the top, all by myself. We were allowed, the press was allowed to go, and I was with a bunch of old people, and nobody wanted to go up the stairs. And I was like, all right, losers. I just went all the way up. You can't even fit, because you think about it, back then they were so tiny. Like, people were built so tiny. Like, I was at one point like through the hole, like crouching down. And I'm not a big woman. Like, I'm pretty tiny. I'm 5'5". I have like pictures. I stuck my camera out and I have pictures of like, you can see the whole Hogmanay parade and like the festival going on. It's really cool.
But you must have so many stories like that. If you were working for the tourist boards, like, it's that balance, isn't it, between like this incredible opportunity and also like, I'm really tired. What's the biggest highlight when you're like looking back and you're like, did that even happen?
That's so funny that you asked that. That's such a great question. The first year, looking back, how far I've come, both personally and professionally in my career. And I'm sure you can relate to this as well. Looking back at the girl who was 25, really trying to find herself and like find herself in the world, in a career, and like wanting to help people, but also heal the loss of her brother and like what that did to her. Looking back at her, I was so brave. I think I was more brave then than I am now. And I feel like the older we get, the more scared we are to do things. And like, I was balls to the wall. I was crazy. And sometimes I look and I'm like, oh my God, Jennifer, I can't believe you did that. And the best part is I can't believe it worked. Like, I can't believe I was like, yep, I'm gonna buy a one-way and I'm gonna go figure it out. And I did. And I swear to God I did. And I had the most amazing time. And I was the most brokest I have ever been in my entire life. And I was the most happiest.
Have you read Die with Zero?
Oh my God, you are okay, now I have to read it. You're the second person that has told me to read that in like 3 weeks.
So the premise with that is that when you're young, you have time and energy, but no money.
Yeah.
When you're older, you have the money, but not the time and the energy. So you have to like, when you're thinking about how to live your life, you have to like take that, like, you almost have to like front load. So if you give £1,000 to a 25-year-old, they're going to be like, do so much more with it than £1,000 like to a 35 or a 45-year-old. And this is something because I didn't get to do traveling when I was younger, because just the way that my life was. And I say this so much to my nieces. I've given them like money to like go. It's like, take it now and go and make the mistakes, have the fun, like be wild. Because when you're 35, you're still young, but like you say, you want to be in a 5-star hotel.
Yeah. I used to I literally, and then like I tell this to people, I tell my nieces the same thing. I have a 11-year-old niece and a 9-year-old niece, and they see all my travel videos. If you go to YouTube and you go to my YouTube channel, I still have all my videos. They're horrendous, but they're there. And I keep them there because like you can see the changes through the years. When I shifted to like education and I started teaching people how to use social media and all the things, etc. But they watch all my videos and they're like, Didi, you went skydiving? You swam with sharks? Like, what? And I'm like, yes. And you should do the same thing. Like, go. The reason why I did it in my 20s is because I wanted to be able to tell my kids one day, like my brother died at 19 and I was 21. He was a month away from being 20. I want to be able to tell my kids one day, girl or boy, go. Mom did it. The world is your oyster. If God willingly you're able to and you're healthy, like go find yourself. It was the most beautiful thing I could have done for myself. My only regret is I wish I would have done it sooner. I wish I would have done it at 21. I wish I would have, like, instead of being like, oh, I'm going to go follow the corporate path. I'm going to go do what they told me to do. No, fuck that. Go find yourself. The woman that I am today wouldn't have been possible if I didn't go through those experiences, if I didn't have those stories. I remember backpacking through Thailand and like sleeping in cubbies, literal like hole in the walls. I say that today. You show me a hole in the wall today and I'm like, no, ma'am. Like I need to starfish my bed. Not be in a hole like this. I paid my dues.
Do you think you would have been able to find the need to do it? Do you think the need to do it would have been as strong if your brother hadn't have died? Do you think that was like the real understanding that life is short?
Yes, 100%. I talk about it a lot. I did a TED talk on it, and is the catalyst. When something like that, anybody that's listening, it doesn't have to be a sibling. When you lose somebody at such a young age in such a traumatic way, you really look at life differently. You cannot not look at life differently. And you do have two choices. Either let the grief and the low consume you and you can stay there. And I could have easily stayed in that state of depression, anxiety, and like victim, or you can choose to channel that energy and push it to something greater and better. And I refused to stay down there longer than I already was. I had wasted 5 years in that. And I truly hadn't healed, not even a little bit of what happened to him. And it wasn't until I was able to like go off on my own and like do the work. And I mean, I've done it all. I've gone to Mexico. I've prayed with shamans. I've done the inner work. And I still do it. It never, never goes away. It's just different at every season. The way I look at it is I want to get to the end and I want to have all of these great stories. I want to be able to sit down with my children and my nieces and my great grandchildren and be like, your grandma was a shit show. She was a literal shit show.
And how did your family respond to you going away and doing all of these things? Because if they'd already lost like one member of the family, to have you be like, I'm skydiving, I'm swimming with sharks, like I've got no safety.
So I'm very close to my family. I'm American, but my parents are Cuban immigrants. So I'm second generation Cuban American, born and raised in this country. I speak fluent Spanish. Culturally, very Cuban household. So we are like this. Still today, I'm 37. I'm super close with my parents. If I don't call my mom in the morning when I wake up and I'm walking the dog, she's like, "What's wrong with you? Are you alive? Are you okay? Like, are you breathing?" I'm like, "Mom, I'm fine." Like everything's great, I didn't tell them. So this is not the advice, and they know this, so it doesn't matter. I didn't tell them what I was going to do. So when I decided to quit my corporate job, I made a 7-month plan. And so what I did was I moved out of my apartment in New York City, moved back home. They thought I was moving back home to be close to them. So moving back home to save money. So like I said I cleaned house. So I just like got rid of old clothes, I had so much shit and I sold everything. I used to go to flea markets on Sundays and I used to sell old handbags, clothes. I had a lot of, I worked in New York. So at one point I worked for a fashion company. So I had a lot of nice things. So I sold a bunch of it. I used that money to pay off debt and then save some. So when I left the US, I had no debt. I left with a clean slate of no debt and about $14,000 in cash. I thought that was a lot of money. What you said before is you give a 20-something-year-old $1,000 and they will maximize it. That $14,000 lasted me for about 10 months. I traveled the world with that money. I got brands to pay me. You have to also remember that some of these brands, like I was working with hotels, so I wasn't paying in accommodations. So like that's it. But like a lot of that money just went to flights and like emergency flights that I had to go here and there. Like I ate a lot of oatmeal. I told my best friend a month before I quit my corporate job. And she was like, the first thing she said was, I'll never forget. We went for coffee and I was like, I have to tell you something. And she's like, what? And she just like spilled her coffee and she was like, you gonna do what? And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go travel and I'm gonna become a travel blogger. And she was like, what the fuck is a travel blogger? And I was like, and she was a teacher. And bless her heart, she was like, well, she's like, honestly, if there's anybody that I think could do it, she's like, it's you. And I was like, I started crying. I was like, thank you. She's like, do your parents know? I was like, God, no. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, how am I going to tell them this? They're going to think they're going to literally lock me up in a straitjacket and like not let me leave. So what I did was I quit my job. I bought the one way and then I told them. They all thought I was crazy. My mom, my dad, and my sister. They were like, what are you doing? You're at the peak of your career. Like, you're doing great. Like this, you're up from here. Like, why are you going to go left? Like, why are you suddenly going to make a left turn? And they didn't understand how bad it was behind the scenes. It wasn't until later on that they were like, oh, she was not well. Like, she really needed to get out. So they did respect that. The only deal that I had with my parents was that if I ever called them my family, if I ever called them and I missed them, that they would pick up the phone. And that I had to pick up the phone and let them know wherever I was, whenever they called. So if it didn't matter if it was 3 a.m, whatever, like I had to let them know that I was here, I was going to bed, I was safe. And I was like, cool, deal. So that was it. So when I went skydiving, I didn't tell them till after. When I went swimming with the sharks, I didn't tell them till after. and as I continued to travel, like I just didn't, they were like, oh, are you done? Are you coming home? It's like, no, I'm going to go to India now. You're going to go where? India. They have been my greatest supporters. But yes, it was very scary for them. And I'm so happy that they trusted me. They also, you know, I wasn't really alone. There were people watching out for me. You know, I had strings up there, as I say. I had people pulling some strings up there for me. They were doing overtime for sure.
This is a question that we ask on this podcast. So if your perfect hotel breakfast, what's your plan? Are you buffeting? Are you a la carte? Are you in bed?
Okay, definitely room service in bed. Yes. I don't want to see anybody in the morning. What do I want? Bacon and eggs, maybe some hash browns, maybe pancakes. I probably won't eat them all. We want some OJ coffee, but like good coffee. Maybe we want a mimosa. Maybe. Throw that in there. That's it.
And so you've been to lots of nice hotels. Where's your like, this is a good hotel?
Well, okay, so I'll tell you right now. I think anything in the Ritz or Four Seasons is always a good. If you're like anywhere near one of those, I think that's great. I can tell you here in Miami.
Yeah. Tell us that Miami one.
The one hotel is great. I mean, if you can afford the Four Seasons here, 100% gorgeous, very nice. I've never stayed there, so this is me going to visit and having dinner and drinks at the lobby. Not like actually, it's like literally $2,000 a night. We're not there yet. We will be though one day. But we're not there yet.
Manifest it.
Yeah, and then so the one hotel for sure, beautiful. What else? The Faena is a great one. Soho House. The Edition Hotel here in Miami is also beautiful. Breakfast delicious. You have a great breakfast.
And what's your travel, because I bet you get asked this all the time, what is like your one travel tip? I'll narrow it down for you so that it's a bit easier for you. For packing, what's your like one travel tip for packing perfectly?
Anything, okay, nowadays, unless you're going to like the Sahara Desert or like, you know, the African jungles or like the Brazilian Amazon, you can literally find everything that you need in most places or something similar to what you have. But you can always find something if you're missing something. So don't think like, oh, I need this, I need all of this.
It was our 10-year wedding anniversary at the beginning of the year and we went to Japan, and that's what we were like, oh no. Like we should have gone with an empty case. That's what we should have done.
Yes. So like I'm planning to go to Australia at the end of this year. And I will most likely just bring a carry-on and then bring an empty suitcase because I love shopping in Australia. And like there's things that I just won't find here in the US or in Europe. So I'm going to fill that suitcase.
So that's your travel tip, is to take an empty.
Yes, that's a good yes. If you are going for a long trip and you're going somewhere that you've never been before, bring a carry-on, bring the emergency items that you need, and then just bring an empty suitcase.
Yeah. Don't pack is my packing advice. And final question, the pod question is, you've got to the end of your life and your angels, your spirits, whatever you believe in, have said you've had a wonderful life. You are allowed to go back and relive one morning in your life. This doesn't have to be like March 12th, 2002. This can be like when this was happening. What is a morning that you would love to go back and relive?
Oh man, Joe, that's such a beautiful question. I've never been asked that question before. I would probably go back to one of the last times I was with my brother. Yeah, we were in the Bahamas. It was August 2020, and it was the middle of it was sunset, and my family had rented a house, and there was no power in the house, and we had to go get like water jugs and at the gas station. And so we had rented a minivan, and we're like on an island in the Bahamas, and we get the water jugs in the minivan. We're driving to the gas station, we fill up the water, and then you can drink at any age in the Bahamas. So he was 19 and I was 21, so I bought us 2 beers, and then we sat at the pier at sunset before it got really dark because there was no lights on the road, and we drank a beer. We weren't drunk, so anybody listening, like, drinking and driving.
In the UK, you're allowed 1 beer. Not that I endorse that. I'm not endorsing that. I'm just saying that.
Yeah. I just want to be clear. Yeah. And in that moment, I would go back to that time. Yeah. Because I remember his face. I remember we were very close, and I remember the conversation that we had, and it was just so special. And then 2 weeks later, he passed away.
That's so beautiful, Jen. Thank you for sharing that with us. That's a really really gorgeous moment.
I've never been asked that question. That's such a great question. And that's the first thing I thought of.
It's so funny because I ask that question all the time, and I'm like, I hope no one ever asks me that question because I don't know what I would answer. Like, I'm always so impressed, and like with the beauty that everyone always like. That is such a beautiful moment. Like, thank you for sharing that, Jen. And thank you for being on the pod. It has been an absolute pleasure. Like, what a wonderful guest, Jen.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's been amazing. I love this.
And if people want to find you, we're going to post everything down below in the show notes anyway. But if people were like, oh, I really want to go and look at a travel blogs or whatever, like, where's the best place to find you, Jen?
They can find me on Instagram at Jennifer Morilla. They can go to my website at jennifermorilla.com. I'm no longer writing about travel as much, but actually, I don't write about travel at all. But I do share what I do when I travel on my social media. But you can still send me a message, and yeah, I'd love if you're coming from Joe's community, let me know.
And if you're writing about anything and with the passion that you've spoken on this podcast, I'm sure it'll be absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
Jen.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Before the Work Begins podcast with me, Jo Hutton. Don't forget to like and subscribe so that you always get to hear the brand new episodes of this podcast. You can find me on Instagram at Jo Hutton Yoga, and of course on Substack at Yoga for Tired People.